Right now, if someone you love dies, you bury them. You prepare the body. You gather your family. You say words. You stand there and watch them go into the ground, and it feels like the most natural thing in the world. But it's not natural. It's not instinctive. It's not something your body knows to do. Your body wants to leave them. Your body wants to move on. Your body wants to find food and reproduce and survive. But something in your mind, something deep in your consciousness says no. You will stay. You will perform this ritual. You will honor this person even though they can't honor you back. And the question is, when did humans first decide to do this? When did we first look at a dead body and decide it was worth resources, worth time, worth risk to bury them? The answer is so old and so revealing about what we are that it changes everything we think we know about human consciousness. 100,000 years ago is not that long in evolutionary terms. It's not even that long in historical terms. It's recent. It's practically yesterday. And yet 100,000 years ago, humans were burying their dead family members with intention, with care, and with the kind of ritual that only makes sense if you understand something about death that most animals don't. That the person you loved is gone, and that matters, and that you need to mark that loss somehow. The evidence is buried in caves across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, and what archaeologists have found there is not what they expected. In 1953, paleontologists excavating at a site called La Chapelle-aux-Saints in France found a skeleton. It was a Neanderthal male, roughly 40 years old, which is ancient for a Neanderthal. He had been carefully placed in a shallow grave. His body was arranged with intention, and around him, in the grave, were animal bones. Specifically, the bones of animals that couldn't have gotten into the grave by accident. Someone had placed them there. Someone had taken the time to gather these bones, to arrange them, to create a final resting place. The bones were from hunted animals, wild boar, bison, the kinds of animals the tribe hunted for food. This wasn't accidental. This was a family deciding that their dead deserved to be surrounded by the fruits of their labor, by what they had hunted together. But here's what's remarkable. That skeleton, the one they called the Old Man of La Chapelle, showed signs of severe arthritis. His joints were fused. His movements would have been restricted. He couldn't have been much use on a hunt. He couldn't have contributed much to survival. And yet he lived to 40 years old, which for a Neanderthal is practically a miracle. He lived because his family kept him alive. And when he died, they buried him. With ceremony. With the bones of animals they'd hunted, with the ritual that said, "We remember you. You mattered." Now jump forward 50,000 years to Skhul Cave in Israel. Archaeologists found 10 human skeletons buried together, a family group. They had been buried over a long period, bodies layered on top of each other as members of the same family died. The skeletons showed evidence of being arranged face to face, of having been buried with intention. And in some cases, hands were positioned as if they were reaching toward each other. This isn't random death. This is a family choosing to be buried together. This is a statement. We die as we lived together. But the real evidence of how deeply family burial mattered comes from a site called Qafzeh, also in Israel. Here, archaeologists found 15 burials dating back 92,000 years. And what they discovered was something no one had prepared for. A young child, maybe 12 years old, had been buried with an adult. The adult's arm was draped over the child. The position was unmistakable. It was protection. It was love. And it was eternal. The person burying them wasn't just disposing of a body. They were making a statement about what that child meant to them. They were saying, "I loved this person, and I want to be remembered as someone who loved them." What makes all of this remarkable is not that humans buried their dead. Other animals have been observed doing things that resemble burial. Elephants return to the bones of their dead. Apes sometimes protect corpses. But what humans did was different. Humans added ceremony. Humans added intention. Humans made burial a ritual. And the distinction matters because ritual only makes sense if you have a concept of meaning. You only bury someone with ceremony if you believe that ceremony means something, that it honors the dead, that it affects the world in some way. And that belief only emerges if you have developed abstract thought. If you can think about concepts like honor and meaning and loss, if you can imagine how the dead person would have wanted to be treated, if you can have empathy for someone who is no longer there to feel anything. Here's the thing that kept archaeologists confused for decades. Why would a family spend resources on a dead person? In survival terms, a dead body is a liability. It doesn't hunt, it doesn't gather, it doesn't contribute to the tribe. From a pure evolutionary standpoint, you should leave the body, move to better hunting grounds, and forget about it. The tribe that wastes resources on elaborate funerals should die out. The tribe that just leaves their dead and moves on should survive. And yet every culture we've ever studied, from the most primitive to the most advanced, buries their dead with ceremony. Every human society has done this, which means that burying your dead family members isn't a bug in the human system. It's a feature. It's something that was selected for by evolution, which means it must have provided some survival advantage. Anthropologist Bruno Latour spent 30 years studying burial practices across cultures and came to a startling conclusion. Burial rituals create social bonds. They force the living family members to work together, to mourn together, to process grief together. The ritual of burial is the mechanism by which a group becomes a family. When you bury a loved one, you're not just marking their death. You're reminding yourself and everyone else who your family is. You're strengthening the bonds that hold the group together. Grief, in other words, is a social technology. It's a mechanism for group cohesion. But there's something even deeper happening. When you bury someone, you're making a decision about what matters in your life. You're saying that this person mattered enough that you're willing to spend time, resources, and energy on their death. You're making a public statement about your values. You're saying, I don't just care about survival, I care about meaning. And that shift from pure survival to caring about meaning is the birth of consciousness. Consider what has to happen in your brain for you to decide to bury someone. First, you have to understand that the person is dead, not just injured, dead, permanently gone. Second, you have to understand that their absence will create a void in your life. Third, you have to imagine how the world was different with them in it. Fourth, you have to decide that their memory is worth preserving. And fifth, you have to perform an action that has no survival benefit but serves only to mark their significance. Every one of these steps requires an advanced understanding of causality, time, memory, and meaning. Most animals don't have this, even most primates don't have this, but humans do, and the evidence suggests that humans developed this understanding at least 100,000 years ago, and possibly much earlier. What's remarkable is that this understanding is permanent. Once humans developed the ability to mourn their family, to bury them with ceremony, that ability never went away. It's been 100,000 years. We've invented writing, we've invented technology, we've invented psychology and neuroscience. And we still bury our dead with ceremony. We still gather our families. We still perform rituals that serve no survival function. We still mark death as significant, which means that something happened 100,000 years ago when the first human family decided to bury their dead with intention, and that something changed the trajectory of human civilization forever. It changed because it created meaning. It created the category of things that matter beyond survival. Once you've decided that your dead family member is worth burying with ceremony, you've opened the door to 1,000 other things that don't have survival value. Art, music, religion, philosophy, romance, friendship. All of these things only make sense if you've decided that meaning matters more than pure survival. And the first evidence we have of humans making that decision is burial. It's a family, 100,000 years ago, looking at their dead and saying, no, we're not going to walk away from this. We're going to stay. We're going to mark this loss. Because this person mattered. Jump forward to today. Someone dies. Your parent, your sibling, your child, and you go through the same rituals that humans have been going through for 100,000 years. You prepare the body, you gather your family, you perform ceremony, and what you're doing without necessarily thinking about it is participating in the oldest human ritual. You're reminding yourself what your family is. You're processing grief in the way that humans have learned to process it. You're making a statement about what matters in your life, and you're participating in the thing that, more than any other thing, made us human. The ability to stand in front of death and say, you mattered. Your life meant something, and we will remember. That old man of La Chapelle, buried 53,000 years ago with animal bones arranged around him, was loved. The family that buried him was saying something with that ritual. They were saying, he hunted with us. He sat with us by the fire. He taught us things. And now he's gone, and we feel that absence. They had the language to express it. They had the ritual to contain it. And they had the consciousness to understand it. And that consciousness, that ability to feel grief so deeply that you would spend resources honoring the dead, is what makes us human. Not our tools, not our language, not our ability to hunt or make fire. It's our ability to love our families so much that we will perform rituals for them even after they're dead. That's what made us human 100,000 years ago, and it's still what makes us human today.